So for my video lab, I'm going to talk about synapses and how they communicate and the chemical reaction that happens inside them. So, first of all, synapses are used to communicate between a neuron and the other neuron along an axon. They communicate through this gap called the synaptic gap. So there's two ways that communication can happen. Temporal summation has a cumulative effect. So a repeated stimulus is sent for a brief time, and it finally reaches threshold and is sent through. But spatial summation is when different neurons are sending signals at the same time. So it has inputs from different locations, and that can also cause it to go above threshold. But most of the time, it's usually a combination of both. And these are both examples of exhibitory postsynaptic potential, because the goal is to go above threshold to get the neuron to activate. But there's also inhibitory synapses. Basically, it has the opposite effect. It's to increase the negative charge, so it moves farther away from threshold. So it doesn't want the neuron to react. So that's a synapse, and I'm going to mark the things that are inside a synapse. So this little nut thing is actually mitochondria. It's used to synthesize acetylcholine and other neurotransmitters. So these are actually the neurotransmitters themselves. And then we got the synaptic gap here and synaptic clefts. This neuron is actually called the postsynaptic neuron. Alright, so let's go over the steps on how this happens. First, in the mitochondria, we're going to synthesize neurotransmitters like acetylcholine. Then the action potential causes calcium to enter. So it's like calcium's over here. It's not letting me put dots, so I'm going to put lines. And it's going to enter the synapse here. Which then releases the neurotransmitters, so it's going to put them down here. And eventually they're down here, which then they bind to the neuroreceptors. Then they separate from the neuroreceptors and are moved up here to reuptake. And that starts the whole process again. So let's see, I guess 4 would be when they enter. And 5 is reuptake. And that sets the process to start over again. So that's how chemicals work in a synapse. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.